All right, hello. Welcome back to episode 11 of Trash Talkin.
I'm Reg.
I'm E, and the NFL madness has ended for now, so we're kind of off the whole draft. All of the offseason moves have been made. Next up will be training camp, and then preseason will be here before you know it because the NFL is a machine. And we're into the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, maybe next week, depending on the outcome of the Leafs-Bruins series. We have a lot to talk about. But this week, now that the biggest drama series it looks like in the NBA is out, the Lakers, seems like there's something going on every day with the Lakers. We'll be able to talk about LeBron and the Lakers, what's next for them. We'll talk about maybe the best team in basketball. I know not seeding wise, but a lot of people think the Nuggets are the favorite to win it all. We'll talk about which teams can put up a fight against the Nuggets, and the biggest head scratcher from the 2024 NFL draft, but the only genuine surprise to me, Michael Penix going to the Falcons. We'll talk about that. And we have Carmine Provenzano on to talk some basketball. He's a huge Laker fan, and I'm wearing my LeBron jersey, not my Laker jersey, because I figured I don't want to wear a loser jersey today. I'll wear a winner jersey. But first, we are going to bring on Carmine.
Ladies and gentlemen, the NFCVI Red Raider quarterback. It's Carmine Provenzano. Welcome, Carmine.
Hey, Carm.
Thank you. Hey, thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. We'll start off with your team because they have become, since LeBron went there, one of my teams. They've become my second favorite team because of him. So I've been watching them very head on. I've been watching them a lot these last couple of years. We'll talk about what's next for LeBron and the Lakers. What do you think is next for the Lakers and LeBron?
Decisions have to be made very quickly. I mean, they're talking about bringing Bronny in, and I don't think that's a good move just because LeBron's in town. He's got a big contract. He's aging. He's still a good player, a great player, but I just don't think that what the Lakers expect, and they've always expected since I was a young man, and I know Reg was the same. They expected winning every year, and it's just not happening right now. So got to look at the lineup, got to look at everybody, not just LeBron, but I think I'm going to say part of the problem, if that means anything, but he's also part of the solution, I think, too.
Absolutely. What do you think?
Well, Carm, I used to be a Laker fan with you, the days of Worthy, Magic Johnson, and all them.
Yeah.
I think very poor run organization. I think they put themselves in a situation where they can't win no matter what they do with LeBron. To me, if LeBron comes back, he's going to get $51 million for 1 year. Or if they sign him for 3 years, it's like $160.
Yep.
Even if he comes back, the West is so loaded with young teams. If he comes back, they have a poor roster right now. They have no bench. And if you look at their guys, Anthony Davis he's good for 50 games a year, and that's all he's going to play. He's always hurt. The rest of the lineup with no bench, to me, they're an 8, 9, or 10 seed at the most next year. And that's being polite because you got teams like Dallas, the Clippers, Minnesota, OKC who are young. Denver's still going to be good. You got a lot of New Orleans if things can stay healthy, and Sacramento who's very good. I mean, it is so tough in the West that even by him coming back, I don't think it benefits them. I think for him, if he's a true ring chaser and he wants another ring, I could see him going to maybe Philadelphia or New York for a year or two. I think Philadelphia could use him. They need another star with the guys that they have. And I'm like you. His son is not ready for the NBA. He's played hardly any college. He doesn't have an NBA body. He's going to come into the NBA, and it's going to take him 3 or 4 years to be productive and probably be a starter. So I say they're in a very bad situation, and I think the ownership and the general manager has put them in this situation. And I don't see them being a contender next year as well. What do you think?
I watched the Lakers for the past 2 weeks. I was supposed to be studying for exams. I watched every playoff game. I did watch exams, but I still watched the Laker games more focused on the basketball than the studying. And watching the Laker game, like that, the team around LeBron and Anthony Davis aren't good. Like it felt like 39-year-old LeBron James was still asked to do what 29-year-old LeBron James was asked to do, and he did it. Like if you came into that series, and I was pretty confident in the Lakers putting up a fight, just because I think any team with like LeBron or Brady, guys like that, any team with those players have a chance. LeBron did exactly what, and I said if he averages 28 points, something like that, there's no way they come out that series, at least not going to 6. He did everything he was supposed to do. He averaged 27 points. Anthony Davis, at least for the first half of every game, was great on the offensive side. And the defensive side fell off a little bit towards the end of games. Jokic started to body him a little bit. AD got tired. But it just seems like the team's kind of in a position where, like you said, if he comes back, at best, you're an 8-7 seed maybe. Like, I feel like that's the best case. And if you let him go, you've already – the mistake was made when you got rid of everyone for Anthony Davis already. I know it got a championship, but now you're in the position where if you let LeBron go, you still have AD unless you want to trade him, but you still have AD. You still kind of have to compete with a young star. But so I was on the side of letting LeBron go a while ago. I just don't think the vision with Anthony Davis there is to rebuild. I don't think you can. You don't have the assets for picks. You can't trade for the picks. LeBron's not worth as much as he was. AD certainly is not worth. So you're in a little middle ground. And I'd love LeBron to go to like the Knicks or the Heat or the Cavs, but I think the Lakers are in a bad situation.
Carm, I got a question for you as a Lakers fan. This is what I would have done personally in the play-in game against New Orleans. If you lose that game, avoid the Denver Nuggets, okay, who you lost to about 8 times in a row.
It was 12.
Home and you play the winner of Sacramento and Golden State. You take your chances, and then if you win, you play an Oklahoma City team with no experience compared to Denver, who has experience. I know people don't like hearing throwing games, but I might not have tried as hard to win that. What do you think?
I agree. I was wondering why they won that game, to be honest with you, knowing that I think the Nuggets had beat them 12 times in a row. I think it was, and before that loss. So, it's a question. It's almost as questionable as the Penix trade or the Penix draft pick we're going to talk about. When I said LeBron,
banner in the stands for the in-play tournament.
Yeah, that's right. When I said he's part of the solution, he's part of the problem. That means, the problem is if he stays. I think, in my opinion, the solution is get what you can for him now. A lot of teams would love to have him as even a team that's on the cusp, maybe that could bring some attendance in. Not a last place team, of course, but like the Knicks are kind of they won a series the other night, but they could use them for sure. Philly can use them, and it's just going to be a better draw for teams. Get what you can for him. Honestly, I felt the team played better without him in the lineup. To be honest with you, in the overall, I saw them play the Celtics, who I think is the best team in the league right now, and beat them in Boston without. Austin Reeves was the hero. And Austin Reeves can play. I mean, I think he's a formidable third or fourth guy that can shoot the three when they need it. But like you said, Davis is out. So who do you fill in as the other when you get rid of LeBron or you trade LeBron? That's the question. So I think you got to backtrack a little bit, suck it up, and be 10th or 11th or 12th. Try to get some draft picks. Although the Pelicans have their pick this year potentially. And or next year, depending on what they want to do with it. So, it's not looking too good. I concur with both of you in your thoughts that the Lakers are in a little bit of shambles, I'm going to say.
And I think LeBron trying to be the GM has helped put him in this situation. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, we laugh about it all the time. Le GM is what we always say. I'm sure you've heard that. Le GM and Le trade and, I look back and I think the Zubac trade, if you remember, that was the downfall of this organization. That to me was the start of the end at least for the last 5 or 6 years.
Zubac is great now. He was great with the Lakers, but I think with LeBron, I'm where I opposite on you guys is I think watching that Nuggets series when LeBron was out, I just think the team looked lost. It was and then at the end of the game, he had Austin Reeves taking the final shot, which blew my mind. He did a turnaround jumper on Jokic, and I'm standing in front of the TV losing it. But I just watched LeBron, and it's funny because 2 weeks before I was talking to someone about LeBron, I said he's still great, but he doesn't show the stats don't show the impact anymore. But during that series, I felt the stats showed the impact for the first time in 2 years, where I was like the end of the fourth quarter in Game 5. I felt LeBron was giving the team a chance. He was aggressive. He put his team on his back. I know he missed a wide open shot, which we're going to talk about for 10 more years, just like we talk about every missed shot that LeBron.
That was the ref's fault.
Yeah, I know. We're going to talk about just like we still talk about the missed shot in Miami before Ray Allen hit the three-pointer. We're going to talk about everything. But I just thought he was really good. I mean, I didn't think they were going to beat the Nuggets anyways. I think the Nuggets are just way too good of a team. I don't think the Lakers are a good enough team. Anthony Davis got tired after every first half.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was there.
But they led in 75% of the series, basically, which is kind of funny.
That's a coaching issue to me. If you can't keep on to a lead, I don't know.
You
Yeah.
can't go 20-point lead in the playoffs in the NBA.
It would never happen with me and Phil coaching.
That's right. Well, you brought it up best there. LeBron, why is Austin Reeves taking the last shot? I mean, I'm going to tell you, in the Kobe years and the Magic Johnson years, those guys have the ball in their hand no matter what. No matter what. There could be 5 guys on them. But those guys take it upon themselves to win games or lose games. But why is Austin Reeves taking the last shot? You'd have to ask LeBron that, because of all times you want the ball. It needs to be then.
Yeah. I think the thing with LeBron is the thing what made him my favorite player, and the thing that makes him a lot of people's least favorite player, is that even when, because people talk about killer mentality, and I get that, but even when people believe it's not supposed to happen, LeBron always makes the score to me. Like, the IQ is always there. He's always making the right pass. And I would love LeBron in that situation to shoot the ball. But I don't even think it was a smart play, but Austin Reeves shot it. So I don't know what it was, but I don't know. I think LeBron, especially now, I've noticed in the older age, has told his teammates, you go do it. Like the AD, you do it. Austin Reeves, he gives Austin Reeves the green light all the time. He doesn't really give D'Lo that green light, but he always looks at Austin Reeves, and I think Austin Reeves kind of earned that. Even though I didn't love the shot. I thought on Jokic too, just kind of weird, but I think Austin Reeves was earned. I think LeBron's always had a closer on his teams. Like Kyrie was the closer. I don't think LeBron is the greatest shooter. Obviously had a great shooting year, but I don't know. I think he's always had a closer, and he's always looked to make the right move.
Yeah. I mean, I always go back to what's his name, Meta. When he got the ball, Kobe passed me the ball. Like, he was so shocked that Kobe passed him the ball. But
they need guys like Robert Horry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Remember Robert Horry won a few games?
Yeah, LeBron could be using Robert Horry for sure.
He's got 6 or 7 rings.
Yeah, I know. That'd be nice. All right, so we talked about what's next for LeBron and Lakers. Let's talk about the team that took them out, the team that I think is the best team in the league, even over the Celtics, even seeding-wise. Let's talk about which teams can put up a fight against Denver. There are a lot of people talking who believe no one can put up a fight against the Nuggets. If this is the Nuggets' championship to lose, I think a little differently. I know you guys think a little differently. What do you think? Who do you think puts up a fight against the Nuggets?
Well, I'll tell you, they're going to have a hell of a time against Minnesota. Minnesota has a good younger team. They got 2 bigs, probably the best player in the NBA, in Anthony Edwards. I think they're lucky they got the home game. I think that could be, if that's a 7-game series, and then they have to go, and Oklahoma City has the home game because they're the higher seed. I think that's going to be a tough series. Oklahoma City is a much deeper team than Minnesota. I think with their star guards and everything, I think Denver could be worn down with the high of playing the Lakers 5 games and beating them. And then if they go 7 games against Minnesota and then having to go to Oklahoma City and, win a couple road games maybe to win it, I think they're going to be very hard. I do think Denver's a great team. And I think if they got to the finals, there's no way anybody should beat Boston. With the talent they have a decent coach, they can play defense, they can shoot threes, they can beat you in so many ways, and they have way more depth than most teams. To me, I'd be shocked if Denver beat Boston this year, but I think they're going to have a hell of a time getting out of the West. I think that's how competitive the West is, and I think Minnesota had it easy the first series against Phoenix, and Denver sort of, had to go all out just to win in 5 games against the Lakers. That might be a 7-game series, and it wouldn't surprise me if Minnesota or Oklahoma City beat them. What do you think, Carl?
I tend to agree with you. I mean, let's face it; it's always tough to repeat. It's tough, so you got to strike against you before the season starts. They're fairly healthy. Denver. The only factor with Minnesota is the bigs that Gobert and Towns maybe. I don't think they can handle Jokic. I really don't. I think he's the difference. I think Edwards and Murray can cancel out, but Jokic seems to be the guy that he's the X factor. He's the guy. I mean, he's the MVP, and he was the MVP last year too, in my opinion.
I hate when people complain about Jokic getting back-to-back MVPs, and if you watch him, he is.
He is. He is. He's not flashy, but he does everything right. So Minnesota, I think, could do it, but Gobert has to play outstanding, and I don't know if he can. He has to be the minister of defense in that series. As far as Oklahoma City, I think they lack a guy that can stop Jokic. I think Dort or SGA can kind of slow down Murray and offset that, but I don't know if Holmgren can do that with Jokic. I don't see it. So Timberwolves probably have the best shot in the West, but I'm with you. Boston should not lose. In fact, they should never lose another game the rest of the playoffs. But the fact that Miami, anyways. Yeah, I think Boston with Porzingis, you got Tatum, you got Brown, you even got Horford off the bench, Holiday. You got names that can carry teams, and they're just too many weapons. As much as I hate to say this, and you know me, Reg, we hate the Celtics. We hate them. So I have to give kudos to them this year.
I'm with you guys a little bit. I think the Nuggets would kill the Oklahoma City, and I'm rooting for OKC because I love SGAs from Canada. Obviously, I'm rooting for them, and they're just a young, fun team. But I think and it's more so in the NFL. You have certain years you take steps. Like the Texans this year, they make a wild card. Next year, hopefully the trajectory is you get to a conference championship, and then you build off that. I think OKC skips some steps, which is awesome. That means they're way ahead of schedule. But I don't think this is what's supposed to happen. And I think experience comes into play a lot. And like you said, down low, I don't think anyone will be able to touch Jokic for OKC. I don't see them really having a chance. I see the Timberwolves having a better chance than anyone because, and we've seen it a lot lately, when you win a championship, it's all about a player getting hot, not even just a team getting hot. In 2019, Kawhi was the one who got hot. He took us to the finals. 2016, LeBron was the one who got hot, and Kyrie. They went all the way to the finals. They came back. Anthony Edwards, we watched every game, and I know this. I don't like the Suns. I don't think they were that good. I think they were built on 3 players, and everyone else was not that good. They sold everything to get those stars. But when you look at Anthony Edwards' last 4 games, he was on a crazy heater. He couldn't miss. He was dunking on people. He was blocking. He was making big shots. He's on fire. I think players who are on fire are more valuable in basketball than anything. I think it's more valuable than a quarterback on fire, than a pitcher who's on fire, than a goalie who's on fire. Because one player in basketball changes everything. And the guy's going for 40, like Luka. That's why I think the Mavs can put up a fight against the Nuggets. I know Luka's been kind of hot and cold in the Clippers series, but Luka's another guy who by himself can give you 45, 10, and 10 every night. I think Ant is that type of impact. And he's not Michael Jordan. Everyone's making comparisons, but he's kind of has the feel of someone like that who takes over games, who's, like we were talking earlier, killer mentality, like Kobe. He wants the ball. He wants to dunk over a guy. I could see the Timberwolves beating the Nuggets in 6 or 7. I don't see OKC beating them. I agree with you guys. The Celtics probably should be favored over the Nuggets, but I don't trust Tatum, especially when it gets late in the game. I don't trust that whole team. I don't trust Jaylen Brown at any point in the game. I think he's got a horrible handle. I wouldn't want him handling the ball with the last 2 minutes. Derek White, like me and you were talking about earlier, has been unbelievable. And when you go down the list of names, it's not just starting line. Pritchard's great. I love Peyton Pritchard. He's a great shooter. Horford, like you said, off the bench. Drew Holiday, Kristaps. It's a great team. They should be the favorites. So I'd say the Celtics, the Timberwolves, and I'd give the Mavericks a chance to beat them.
You know what would be great and refreshing in the NBA, because this is why I hate the NBA? If the Denver Nuggets go back-to-back, they didn't get any ring chasers going there. They didn't build super teams. They didn't say, hey, buddy, during the All-Star break, you want to come play with us next year? Like the Phoenix Suns. How bad does this look? And if the Celtics don't win with all the guys they had, the Milwaukee Bucks went. I know they had injuries, but they weren't that good during the season anyway. Yeah. This would look really good on the NBA if the Denver Nuggets won back-to-back, and all these teams that say we got to get a third guy and build a super team and, this, that, and the other, and they don't end up winning.
Oh, I totally agree. It needs that shot in the arm for sure. I hate that ring chasing. It's gone on too long, gone on way too long.
Just think Oklahoma City a few years ago had Westbrook, Durant, and
Harden. Paul George.
Couldn't win.
It also changed things if OKC somehow figures out a way to get to the finals. Like we see a shift in every sport. It'll be like I remember we were making fun of Sam Presti for getting all those first-round picks, trading away Russ, trading away Paul George. They got SGA back in the Paul George trade. They got all those picks. Now, if you can look at a roster filled with homegrown guys that you took from a rebuild, it would be like the Orioles and the Astros. It would change the game a little bit by looking at building through draft picks and trading superstars and rebuilding, other than going in the offseason like we've seen forever, and I want to go here and let's build a super team. I mean, the super team thing, in my opinion, which I hated, is dying because you looked at the Nets super team. They traded everyone and all their depth for 3 superstars that couldn't stay healthy. It was terrible. The Suns did the same thing, traded their depth for superstars that couldn't work together. I think that's dying out. I think you're going to see more Oklahoma City. And I know the Rockets haven't had success, but teams like the Rockets who are building through a draft and getting better year by year, I think you're going to start to see it. I think, that's what the Lakers, to go back to the first stop, that's what they should be pushing for now. If they are going to, clean it out, take your couple years of sucking and start rebuilding once you get your assets back. Because it's going to be bad after AD and LeBron are gone, right? So I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see that a lot more lately. I think if OKC can push it a little bit to a conference finals or Minnesota too, they've built, but even them, they went and got Rudy, and I know they built everything else, Ant and Cat, but I don't know. I think OKC could change kind of how the league is built and how we play.
I think you're always going to get the one guy that a team needs to pick up, and back in the heyday, the Lakers picked up Michael Thompson and Robert Horry and guys like that. But it was one guy. It wasn't, and it was a complimentary guy. It wasn't it was a guy that can put them over the top. It wasn't the guy that was a star, right? So, I hope it. And the Lakers traded their lives away, right? We know that. So they tried to build a super team, didn't work. Yeah.
And the thing with Phoenix, what did they think they were getting with Bradley Beal? He can score. He doesn't play defense, and he scored because he was on one of the worst teams in the NBA for years. So I could probably get 20 points a game in that team. He was getting 25 points. They were losing by 40, and they said, "Oh, let's go get that superstar." And he hasn't been the difference.
It reminds me of Patrick Ewing when he was with the Knicks. He used to take 45 shots a game. Of course, you're going to score 25, 30 points. That's the way it is.
In trading a couple years ago, the Suns, we thought the Suns were, they were in the finals, but we thought they were ready to go with Ayton and Chris Paul. I didn't see the vision with getting KD. I think, and a lot of people said this, I know Chris Paul is not great anymore. I think he would have been better off with Chris Paul and DeAndre Ayton this year and having some depth to take off pressure from Booker, take off pressure from Ayton. It was an old KD, Bradley Beal, who's pretty hot and cold to me whenever I watch him, and Devin Booker, and no one else. So I don't know. I think that's all over. I don't think the Suns were ever going to put up a fight against the Timberwolves. I just think the Timberwolves are way too good. I really do think the Timberwolves could beat the Nuggets. I do see a world though where the Nuggets walk through everybody. Like we're all wrong, and they just walk through the Wolves and they walk through the Oklahoma City or Dallas, and then there's the fight against the Celtics. I see that being a great finals if we get there. I don't know if anyone really stops Jokic and Murray.
I think this ruins Durant's legacy because he's ruined 2 organizations.
Yeah.
By going there. And he thought he was too good for Golden State. And he went to Brooklyn, and now he's in Phoenix, and he's done nothing.
Yeah, what little legacy he has. He was a great player in his time. He should have just stayed put and made the teams he was with better, by staying put. So I think, the legacy isn't there. In my opinion, I don't think Durant isn't at the top of my list as a legacy type player.
No, me neither.
Hall of Famer, yes, but legacy, no.
Now that would be a good topic one day to bring you back on. I want to hear all you guys' legacy players because I know my son will have a lot of different opinions.
You'll have 5 jerseys at the end of this offseason. 5 teams where you can put them in. You can put the Suns, the Nets, Warriors, the Thunder, and I don't think he's going to be back with the Suns. We're already talking about trading him.
I would.
So that's going to be 5 teams. That's why when we talk about LeBron, I don't want him to go anywhere but the Lakers, Cavs, or Heat. Do not ruin your legacy by being, like Shaq at the end of his career, where you can make a rainbow out of the jersey colors. You don't want to do that. You don't want to be a journeyman. You don't want to be CP3, who every year it feels like we find CP3 with a new team. But KD, as soon as he went to the Warriors, that's when his legacy was done for me. I didn't care how much he won there. It was never going to be the same. like Dirk's one ring to me means way more than any of those.
And if Durant didn't get hurt against the Raptors, who knows what happens, right? In that series?
Yeah, but we don't live on hypothetical.
No, I'm just saying that just shows you. You never know.
I know, but he would have had what, 3? If he stayed healthy, he would have had 3 there. But again, how can you count those rings? You know, when he had 2. Well, you can count Draymond, 3 Hall of Famers with him at that time. I don't know. I think it really tainted his legacy. But we will move on to the world of the NFL since we're kind of finished with this season for the NFL. We'll start moving more into training camps, and I guess we'll have a lot to talk about with contracts, especially on my end. There'll be 3 huge contracts in Dallas.
Carm too. Carm's
and Carm. But we're going to talk about the most interesting pick, the weirdest pick of the draft to me, the most unfair to a quarterback pick to me. The Falcons took Michael Penix, and everyone was shocked. And I think even Arthur Blank, the owner for the Falcons, was shocked when the videos were surfaced of him going up to the GM and coach and asking them what was behind that pick, and they had to explain it to him. There was a lot of weird comments made by the GM and coach after talking about how if Penix sits for 4 to 5 years, they did a good job, which is an odd thing to say about a 24-year-old. So what do you think first about Falcons taking Penix?
I think it's a horrible move. You can only do one or the other. Like, this makes absolutely no sense.
No.
You know, as an owner, you go in the offseason and spend $180 million, $100 million guaranteed for a quarterback to win now.
Whole quarterback too.
But I mean, they paid the money to win now. Who's a good quarterback on a team in a terrible division, and you say, win now. You knew you had the 8th pick in the draft. If you thought you were going to draft a quarterback, you were going to get a top 4 quarterback no matter what. When you have told the owner and said, hey, why don't we skip on getting a quarterback? We're going to get a good quarterback in the draft and use our money in free agency on defensive players because our defense stinks. You know, and to me, how do you tell an 81-year-old owner that give it 4 or 5 years, buddy? Give it 4 or 5 years, you know? We'll have the games on in the home for you. You know, we're not going to be bad. And I agree with, I can't remember who said it on the radio, but to me, this is like them being scared to be bad for years. They just want to be average. They want to be a team that wins 8, 9, because they've won 7 games the last 3 years, so they're pretty consistent. You know, they had the cream of the crop waiting for them at 8. They could have got the best edge rusher, Dallas Turner. They could have had Chop Robinson. They could have had the best DBs, Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold. They had life right there sitting for them. They could have bolstered their defense. If they wanted to be greedy, they could have got a top-notch wide receiver and just went all offense to win. I love Penix. If I'm a Bronco fan, I would have took him at 12 for sure. But when you go and sign a guy, you can't do both moves and tell me that, to me as a fan, you can't say, well, just wait in 4 years. We're going to be all right. We got a guy waiting for it. That's not how it is now. Sports isn't a You have to win now in sports more than ever. You can't tell fans and say, you know what, go buy your season tickets. In 3 or 4 years, we're going to be good. You know, I promise you, you're going to pay the same money now, but, you know, he's a great quarterback. I feel sorry for both quarterbacks. You put them both in a bad spot. You're putting Kirk Cousins looking over his shoulder a little bit. And this kid Penix, who I think on certain teams, especially my team, he would have started right away. I don't think this kid needs to sit 2 years at his age. You know, it's a great pick, but a dumb organizational move to do that both. So to me, you know, Carm, you're always be the Falcons. You're in a bad division, stay there. And when your owner doesn't know who you're taking, it's not really a good thing. What do you think?
Oh, you said everything there. You know, when they picked him, I thought they were picking him for a team to trade him. That's initially what I thought, and they were going to get something that they wanted from the other team, but obviously that didn't happen. You know, you talked about picking defense, and that probably would have been the way I'd go. But if you wanted to go offense, Penix's teammate Ondunze would have been a great pick there for me, and a complimentary great player that probably could step in and play. This one baffles me so much because I didn't see a trade from it. And I agree with you. Now these guys are walking on eggshells every time they go on the field, especially Cousins now. Is he the starter? We don't even know that now. I mean, is Penix the starter? Then I thought maybe they were going to get in trouble with tampering, right? I thought, okay, maybe something they've got something in hand that says whatever. But that's an organizational problem, not necessarily a Cousins problem, unless Cousins was guilty of something. So I was looking at it that way, saying, okay, they're preparing for a suspension or something to that effect. Who knows? But I'm dumbfounded by the pick, really am. And you guys got a good pick in Bo Nix. I think he was great. I think he's a great quarterback.
I would have took Bo Derek at 12 over him, but could have got Bo Nix in the second round. Nobody else was going to draft a quarterback by then.
True enough. You got to make sure. You guys have struggled at quarterback for years. You got to take somebody while you can.
Yeah, well, they made so many mistakes that you get gun shy after a while.
Yeah, true.
I mean, we talked about Paxton Lynch on a few shows. I mean, Brock Osweiler. We've had our share of quarterbacks.
Oh, we went down that road too, didn't we? What was that Quincy guy?
Quincy Carter.
Oh,
Quincy Carter. Yeah. Yeah, we did.
I'm just happy the Falcons made the pick I thought we were going to pick. There was a lot of talk over the last week before the draft that if Penix makes it to 24, the Cowboys would take him for insurance. I was terrified that Jerry would do that because it just seems very Jerry to me. So I was very happy that they made the dumb pick and we didn't, but it made no sense to me. Everyone's trying to be the Packers. Everyone saw Jordan Love work out, and they're trying, but that was Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks ever, and a 20-year-old raw, unfinished product in college. And now you're going to Kirk Cousins, who's not.
But he wasn't a top 10 pick either.
No, he was at the end of the draft, at the end of the first round. But now you have Kirk Cousins, who's not remotely close to what Aaron Rodgers is. I know he's smart. And then you have he's going to be 24 when the season starts. He's going to sit. I see Kirk Cousins playing 2 years over the contract. I don't see him playing 4, just off an Achilles, older, not really that athletic anyways. I don't think you.
But you're paying him $50 million a year for 2 years.
Yeah.
So he's getting $100 million for 2 years, which is a good gig. I mean, he's got $100 million guaranteed.
So it makes it even weirder to me. And the weirdest thing is they didn't even bring Michael Penix in for an interview. Like he was never like a prospect who came in and they talked to. So it's not like they signed Kirk Cousins and then realized, oh, we talked to this guy and we can't pass up on him. He's special. They never even talked to him. So they've probably known that they've liked this guy since before they signed Kirk Cousins. Because it's not like anything else would have pushed it even further. So it makes zero sense. And like you said, it's one of those we don't want to win moves, but we want to keep our job for the next 4 or 5 year moves. It's everything's going to be all right. We're still going to live in our big house and drop our kids off in a nice school. That's what the GMs and coaches are thinking right now because there's no way. Like it was a foregone conclusion to me that Dallas Turner or Latu, I know there's a lot of people who thought both were interchangeable. Foregone conclusion to me that they took Dallas Turner and beefed up. Because if you wanted to sign Penix, Christian Wilkins was there in the offseason. You could have made so many trades, signed so many players, and spent less money on them than Kirk and drafted your young quarterback, which I thought would have been smarter. If you did that, that would have been a way better offseason than me. But you went and got the sure thing quarterback, who's not a sure thing. He's 36 coming off an Achilles, and the draft was all there to build up the defense. And like you said, if they drafted Odunze, I wouldn't have cared. I would have thought that was a great pick because then you go London, Pitts, Robinson, Odunze as your weapons and a great O-line.
And running backs.
And running backs, Algier and Robinson. It makes no sense. There was like some picks. Like I remember my buddy's a Packer fan and he was, really upset when they drafted Jordan Love. And I said, this makes a lot of sense. 20 years old. Rodgers has been flirting with leaving forever. This one makes sense. I know you can't see it now, but you'll see it in a couple years. There was none of that here for me. There's nothing that you can say in 3 years this will make a lot of sense for the Falcons. He's going to be 27 in 3 years. He's already going to be. He's going to have like 7 years left in the league by the time he gets to start. It makes no sense. I feel bad for Penix. I don't really ever feel bad for a player who's going to sit and make good money, but I feel bad because you're now going to miss out on what you could have made yourself. Because I love Penix. I thought he was better than McCarthy. I thought he was better than Nix, McCarthy. I thought he was the 4th best quarterback in the draft. They picked him as such, but they picked him to sit, which really, I know when people tried to trade up. The Saints tried to trade up to get him. There was a lot of people trying to trade for that pick, and they stood pat to take a quarterback who's going to sit for the next 3 years. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't really get it. But
yeah, they're no better now than they were last year at this time. Even with Cousins, you bring Cousins in, and I agree with both of you. The defensive side of the ball is what's lacking. I mean, I know quarterback out of Cincinnati that was starting for them was a Riddler. No, Riddler. Yeah. I mean, he was okay, but he's not. Yeah, I mean, he's not great. But your defense is still the problem. And to go ahead and draft, to bring in, you actually drafted 2 quarterbacks basically. You brought in Cousins for a gazillion dollars, and you bring in Penix, and it just doesn't make any. I'm still dumbfounded. I can't even talk about this topic. It's just that weird for me, you know.
Shocked and said, "Okay, we'll go edge, we'll go corner." So, okay, that's an easy shot.
Take the best available athlete at the position.
Yeah, it just makes zero sense. They didn't help the team.
And our friends in Buffalo again pulled another move for us. You know, you can't beat a team like the Chiefs. What do? You go help them. You trade with them. Have them get the best receiver in the draft who's a speedster. So that way, when you play him again in the playoffs, there's a new way you can lose.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, this sounds to me like a kid in school who's getting bullied and he loses his lunch money. And it happens for a few weeks. And finally, the principal and the school get together and they stop it. But the kid still gives the bully his lunch money. You can't beat the team, so you help them get better. You know what? It wouldn't have bothered me if Worthy would have got picked where Kansas City was, if he was still around. But you help the team. I don't care if you got a 4th-round draft pick involved in it. You never help. I don't know about you, Carm, but I never help a team that we can't beat or a rival. You never help them in the draft no matter what.
Absolutely. Cowboys went and got Deion Sanders. Cowboys went and got Kenny Norton Jr. when they got Charles Haley of all people, right? You take, you don't give.
Exactly. You're right. You never trade with a division rival or a team you meet in the playoffs every year. Cincinnati's probably sitting there going, what are you doing? At least we have a shot against Kansas City. You can't beat them. You know, I just don't understand the theory. The Bills were going to take a receiver anyway. They didn't trade up to get one. They were falling in their lap, and they still helped Kansas City. I hate Kansas City so much that now they've won a Super Bowl with no receivers. Now they have receivers. How much better can they be? You know, Mahomes they already gave a pat Mahomes years ago. They didn't learn their lesson. They don't learn their lesson. Oh, it's terrible.
It's a Buffalo thing to do. I hate all the Bills fans out there. Sorry about that.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry.
And I think they know.
They often hate on him.
I think
they traded down to get a receiver who I didn't even think is that good. I think he's good enough, but you had Worthy, and then you end up with Coleman. Like, that's a huge.
So many good receivers in the draft that Buffalo had their pick of whoever they could have got. You know, and
absolutely.
You know, but to me, I would have took that Worthy just because of the speed. If I was Buffalo, you know, get that. Now you're giving Kansas City a guy who, you know, Rashid Rice is probably going to be suspended for a few games, if not more. So now they have somebody to fill in for him right away.
The last team I would have sent him to, and I was hoping he would fall one more pick because I wanted the Cowboys to take a receiver. I wanted us to take Xavier Worthy. He was my favorite player in the draft, but the Bills are going to Bills. Falcons, we'll see how they make out this year with Penix sitting. Maybe he'll give Kirk Cousins good motivation for games. Who knows?
Who knows? Maybe the Falcons trade up next year and get Shadir Sanders.
Get another quarterback.
All for the 3 years after that when Arthur Blank's 90.
You got to keep thinking about the future. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up there. Carm, thanks for coming on and talking Lakers.
Thank you, Carm.
Probably painful to talk with the Lakers right now, but I appreciate you coming up the strength and talking basketball and NFL with us. So thank you for coming on.
Hopefully we get you back clean, Carm. Thank you.
Yeah, anytime. Thank you. Thanks,
I
Big E.
wanted to talk about the Islanders, but there was really nothing left to talk about.
No, there's nothing to talk about there.
See you, Carm.
Thank you.
Red Raider quarterback.
All right. Well, next week we will try and get topics. There will be more NBA topics to come. It'll be baseball, maybe some hockey.
And who knows? Maybe we'll talk about the red hot Oakland Athletics.
Hey, they've been hot. They've been beating some good teams.
First the Eclipse, and now this.
I want to see the A's make the playoffs. Maybe I'll get an A's jersey. But we'll talk about the first month of baseball. We'll talk about the next round of basketball, and maybe Leafs Bruins, depending on how. I don't want to talk about if the Bruins win. I don't know enough about them. But so thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. We took a little short break last week. We'll be back next week at the same time. Thanks for watching Trash Talking.
I'm Reg.
I'm Ian. We'll see you next week.